Teamfight Tactics, king of the auto battlers, and a game I have been playing for years now and regularly come back to. The undisputed most played auto battler of them all, with a reported 30 million plus monthly players across both PC and mobile. But what is an auto battler? An auto battler is essentially a strategy game where, as the name suggests, it plays itself. Well, to a degree. You will make decisions, place pieces down on the game screen, and then see how they play out. Sometimes they are single player, sometimes they are online against multiple other players, but there is always some element of automation within the gameplay. Teamfight Tactics and other modern competitive auto battlers came about as a result of the modding community, but you could argue that tower defense games are auto battlers in their own rights, with the first game of that type being the arcade game Rampart in 1990, published by Atari. The history of the tower defense genre is probably a video all by itself, but this simple concept, where enemy units move along a predetermined track and you have to build different guns to take them down, has spawned many iterations on the idea, and not least the subject of this video. I remember the first tower defense game I played was online in a web browser on Miniclip and was called Canyon Defense. I still go back and play it now and then, and it is a solid example of the genre. But the auto battler as we know it now came from a modded map in Warcraft 3 called Legion TD. This has more tower defense DNA than what it finally led to, but there is a fully released game these days which essentially recreates this in the form of Legion TD2, which you can get on Steam. So the first form of this was 2 lanes which enemies progress down, and you spend resources which you earn through combat and other means to then buy and place units which defeat the enemies to stop them from getting to your king. If your king dies, you lose the game. But early in 2019, Drodo Studio released a community-made game mode for Dota 2 called Dota Auto Chess. And this is where the modern format and indeed Teamfight Tactics was born, as later in that same year, seeing the success of that game mode and the 8 million players it had drawn in, Riot Games developed and released their own version set in the League of Legends universe and utilising the already popular game's cast of champions. This was followed by Drodo and Valve both releasing Auto Chess and Dota Underlords respectively later the same year, and the genre was off and running, with many other games following hot on their heels like Hearthstone, Mechabellum, Super Auto Pets, and a whole host of other variations on the theme. So what is Teamfight Tactics? Like, what is the actual game like and how does it play? Well, you load into a game against 8 other players online. You have your tactician, the little avatar that you move around the arena, which is mainly used for picking up loot and champions that drop from combat. Then you proceed through a number of rounds of combat, with the main aim being to build your team and be the last one standing at the end, having defeated everyone else. The first 3 rounds are spent fighting NPC enemies, and this gives you an opportunity to get some early champions on the board and start building some money, which you will then use to buy more champions. The third round of combat will see you start to face off against other players, and from there every round you will be presented with a selection of champions which are dealt from a shared pool that you all pick from. So think of it like a deck of playing cards. There are only so many queens or spades you can get, so thought needs to be put into deciding which champions you choose, as the champions themselves are split into sort of houses or classifications, and each of these have their own unique bonuses and strengths. Typically, the more you have of one type of champion, the stronger that bonus becomes, be it attack speed or armour or whatever. Each round you will earn a certain amount of gold, which will increase depending on your win or loss streak. In addition to this, you will earn 1 gold interest on every 10 you have in your bank. So you need to manage how you spend it so that you can get to the 50 gold threshold, and then try not to go below that so that you can earn the maximum amount of interest, allowing you to re-roll the shop to try and get the champions you need. You can look at other players' teams at any point, so you have to make decisions as to what type of team and combinations you will pursue, as if you are all looking for the same champions, then you likely won't get to the level needed to carry you into the later stages. because as you collect your champions, they start at level 1, and if you collect 3 level 1 characters, they consolidate into a level 2 character, and if you manage to get 3 level 2 characters, they once again consolidate into a level 3 character, and each time they get stronger based on their star level. While you are putting together combinations of different character classes and leveling them up, you will also get the opportunity to receive loot in the form of more gold or items that you can equip to your champions. So a sword will increase attack damage, and a bow will increase attack speed, and a piece of armour might increase your health. These items themselves can then be combined together with other items to create even stronger items. So you are looking to exploit the character's ability moves and their class modifiers with the right items to create the strongest team possible. This will usually take the form of choosing to focus in on 2 or 3 characters in particular to really boost them up, and these are commonly referred to as your carries, as they will either do the most damage for your team or tank the most damage from your enemies. As well as all this, you will be given the option of periodically choosing 1 of 3 augments that will further boost your team. Sometimes it is more loot or gold, but other times it could be an increase in sort of team-wide stats like more health or attack speed. There are also more specific augments that might lean towards one particular champion and changing the way they play, and giving you the opportunity to really concentrate your gameplay down one particular path. And lastly, every 3 rounds you will get to choose from a carousel of champions, with each one holding a different item. So depending on your placing at the time, you either get to act first and go and choose your champion, or you act last if you are first. Which means that if you are doing well, you often have to endure the pain of watching other players picking up the champions you are looking for and having to change your tactics on the fly. This is usually done in the way described, with champions walking around in a circle on the carousel level, but the current set has you choosing a bit differently, where you get to choose a boon from 1 of 2 gods, and then a random choice of 1 of 3 champions. Because the other thing about Teamfight Tactics is that there are seasons, or sets as they are known, which change the theme and the rules slightly, as well as the cosmetics of the champions about every 4 months, keeping the game fairly fresh. As you play through ranked games, you will earn LP or league points, which are the points that decide your ranking, and each 100 points you earn moves you up to the next tier. These are Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold, Platinum, Emerald, Diamond, Master, Grandmaster and Challenger. Each rank has 4 tiers you need to progress through before ascending to the next. In terms of earning points, you will need to place in the top 4 of a match, with the highest amount of points going to the player who came first. If you place outside of that, you will lose LP to varying amounts depending on where you placed from 5th to 8th. So it is a constant churn of gaining and losing points. So as you can see, it's a fairly simple concept on the face of it, but with a lot of depth and strategy to get your teeth into. But why do I love this game? Well, to start with, it's a competitive game, but it is PvP without pressure. If you have played or even heard about League of Legends, I am sure you have heard the many horror stories about incredibly sweaty and toxic players screaming and shouting and generally being insulting if you don't live up to a certain standard, which can make learning the game difficult and off-putting. But in Teamfight Tactics, you are competing against other real players, but firstly, you aren't part of a team, so any mistakes only affect you and not someone else, which takes an element of pressure off. But secondly, there isn't really any need to communicate with anyone else outside of throwing down a GG at the end of a game. I like games like this because it is fun to pit yourself against other people, but it is off-putting to come up against an unpleasant individual. Not necessarily because someone is going to say something mean, but because it never feels good to feel like you have let someone else down. But you never get that here, which seems to stand in contrast to the reputation of League of Legends. Mechanically, it feels good to play, and each game is going to take between 30 to 45 minutes, which has a lot in common with something like a roguelike where you do a run. And that is not where the similarities with roguelikes end, because with so many combinations to choose from, it can feel like you are playing Binding of Isaac or something, where you get an augment and a light bulb just goes off in your head and you think, oh, if I can get that champion starred up and get these items, then I reckon that is going to be really good. and each game is different with new options to experiment with. I do like options, but I also often feel like in some way personally it's holding me back from being better at the game because I just can't resist fucking about. I feel like I am the Claudio Ranieri of TFT, the tinker man who can't help but change it up and try new things, which often don't pay off. But I do love getting a certain augment which just lays out a path before you to see where it goes. In a similar vein, the random elements involved give it a feel akin to playing sort of Texas Hold'em poker or something. The thrill as you refresh the shop and there they are, the champion you have been waiting for, is akin to receiving your cards and then waiting for the flop and then seeing that extra ace come down. This adds to what I was just saying about new paths opening up. You get a certain item or an augment happen and suddenly the game can take you in a completely different direction. And when you do get that right combo, it is a thrill to just see your team wipe the opposition away with ease, knowing that your tactical decisions paid off, much like the Isaac comparison where you become an unstoppable death machine. And when it doesn't work, you learn something and carry that knowledge into the next match. And quite frankly, it is just perfect for when I don't have the energy to be fully present in a game and just want to relax, one hand on the mouse, slouched in my chair, YouTube on the telly, making choices and rolling the metaphorical dice to see where it takes me. I have said there is a lot of depth to this game, and that could possibly even be an understatement. TFT has an incredibly competitive esports scene, with so much to keep and juggle in your mind to be the best. I mentioned earlier that you have to consider what other people are playing so as not to hamstring yourself for the late stages of a match, but also that I felt that tinkering was what held me back somewhat. But I think to be at the challenger level, you will need to learn so many possible combos of champions, items and augments so that you can respond to any situation that is thrown at you. So flexibility seems to be key. To put it in context, the Challenger rank is the highest pinnacle tier and is reserved for the top 0.07% of the competitive ladder player base. And when you think about how many people are playing the game, that is an incredibly high bar to clear. I have watched some regional finals recently and I'll be honest, that shit just melted my brain.
Great spot. The problem is this is a little out of just one of those fragment time. This is exactly what
But this is just how it goes. The deeper and more involved something like esports or sports or any subject of interest gets, the more it creates its own language and terminology which can seem alien and impenetrable to the casual outsider. As for my own journey, well, I would love this section to be some kind of Rocky IV style training montage of me slaying all who come before me and climbing the ladder all the way to the top, but I am nothing if not honest and candid, and quite frankly the truth of the matter is that I am well and truly stuck around gold level 2. And that's alright, I am fine with that. I am and always will be an it's the taking part that counts kind of guy. Because if the game isn't just enjoyable to play, then what is the point of playing anyway? Games like chess have been played for over 1,000 years and there is a reason for that, because it feels good to play. Am I comparing Teamfight Tactics to chess? Maybe a little bit, only in the sense of like it's the mechanics that make it work, that make it feel good. Don't get me wrong, I do like games with a story arc, but sometimes I think the best games are the ones that just feel good and rely on the moment-to-moment gameplay as its main strength. And Teamfight Tactics sits firmly in that area. I have played an absolute crap ton of TFT whilst getting ready to make this video, and I haven't regretted a single moment. Don't let the fact that it is tied to League of Legends put you off, as it is very much its own game, even if it does share the same universe, and if you have never tried it, then maybe you should. And it might open up the genre for you to try other similar games. Whatever you like, there is probably an auto battler flavour for you. I've decided to make videos about things that bring me joy, part of the new me trying to channel more positivity. So I'm glad that I finally got to make this video, as I've been thinking about it for a while, and it is a game that I genuinely do enjoy playing. Anyway, stay positive, stay creative, and I'll see you later.